People will always ask me about protein supplements and if they're good for weight loss, if you need them for weight loss. So let's talk about protein bars and protein supplements just in general and see if they might be good for your weight loss tools. And before we actually dive into that, I want to talk a little bit about how weight loss occurs in general, because I think it gives some important context to answer this question overall. Energy balance is key when it comes to weight loss. So calories in versus calories out. If you are eating more calories per day than you burn, you will gain weight. If you are eating less than you burn, you will gain weight. So I always give the example of somebody's eating 2,500 calories per day and you are eating 2,000 calories, you're eating 500 calories less per day than your body needs to maintain the weight. If you do this, you will lose weight. So when looking at protein bars, or specifically protein supplements for weight loss, if you are consuming these things and they are actually getting you to lead to that calorie deficit, guess what? You 100% will lose weight. But if you're eating all these protein supplements, thinking that I'm going to gain a bunch of muscle, I'm going to lose a bunch of weight, etc., guess what? You're going to gain weight. Calories in versus calories out is the main thing. Some pros and cons about eating protein bars and specifically protein supplements. A lot of them are very sweet. So that's kind of the first thing. They're kind of mimicking like a candy bar. And obviously a lot better to eat than a candy bar because they do have usually some decent protein. It's a very quick access to protein actually. And they might actually help to stave off some of those cravings. So I know a lot of people who like consuming protein bars, for example, who will use that instead of eating a candy bar at night. And if this is you, for example, that's great. That's great. You know yourself very well. Some people, on the flip side, can't do that. They will eat a protein bar, say a protein bar that's very tasty, very close to a candy bar, for example, and they will immediately start getting cravings for sugary stuff. It really depends on the person. Some people will be able to use them as a tool to stave off those cravings, and some people just makes those cravings way more intense. So in that case, it could be a good way for you to overall get some more protein in your diet. If you're getting value from this so far too, please consider liking the video. Greatly helps me out. And moving on, we can then talk about some cons of protein bars. And one of the biggest things with protein bars is that they're actually kind of high in calorie. Since we just discussed they're kind of a substitute for candy bars, we know candy bars are usually around 200 to 300 calories a pop for one of them. Guess what? Protein bars, essentially the exact same calorie amount. And the thing about protein bars is ones that don't have fiber in them, they're not very filling. So you may be eating something like a protein bar in place of a candy bar, for example, and you're getting a little bit of protein, right? That's great. You're potentially staving off some of those cravings. That's great. But it's very high in calorie. And if you're eating, say, 2 or 3 of these a day, that's an extra 200 to 600 plus calories a day just in those protein bars. And I know for myself personally, I do love the taste of them, but they're not very filling. I'll eat one of those and be like, I could eat another one and another one and another one. Some people are different. Some people, it satisfies them super well. It's just kind of knowing your body. These are all things that are things relative that you should consider. Another con with protein bars, especially when it comes to weight loss, is that they're very expensive. So if you're trying to lose a bunch of weight, and essentially when you're thinking about weight loss, you should be thinking about trying to lose or maintain weight for the rest of your life, as in doing things that will lead to that for the rest of your life. If you're leaning on protein bars and that's something you really want to have in your overall diet for a long term, they're pretty expensive. Some are a little bit cheaper, but those that are a little bit cheaper aren't going to give you quite as much protein typically. They might not have as much fiber. They might also not be the most tasty. The ones that usually taste the best are the ones that are most expensive. So those are something to keep in mind. Also too, this might seem kind of redundant and weird, but sometimes these protein bars are actually not very high in protein. I've seen numerous bars that are kind of quote unquote coined as protein bars that have maybe 7 to 10 grams of protein in them. And that is much more protein than a candy bar, as we discussed earlier, but that's still really not that much protein. If we're trying to hit that 1 gram per pound of body weight protein goal that we talked about earlier, 10 grams of protein is going to do a very small dent in that. A very small dent in that, especially when you keep in mind that if you're eating a bar that's 200 calories, 10 grams of protein is only 40 calories from that bar. So less than 25% of the calories are from that bar. So just something to keep in mind. If you're looking for protein bars, try to find ones that are cheap, try to find ones that are not very expensive, and that's going to get you your best from mine. I really like the Zone Perfect bars. Those ones are pretty decent. Also, I did link some ones below in the description that I also enjoy. You can check out as well.